Hello and welcome to the video. My name is Ryan and this is my ranking of the Ian Fleming James Bond books. So for this I'm going to be doing just a very quick sort of overview for my feelings on the books. I do have 14 videos on the channel going a lot more in detail for each of the books, what happens, what I liked about them and what have you. And I've also assigned them a numerical rating. I don't remember what the ratings are for all 14 of these books right now, but if I do remember, I will mention it, and if not, I'll give a rough idea. But like I say, if you want to see a much more, not so much fleshed out, because it was a very casual thing. This whole series has been. I didn't want it to be like a super formal thing. I wanted it to be more, if a friend was asking, would you recommend this book or whatever, and it's just like, that's what it's supposed to be, just a casual discussion on how I felt about these things. So we're going to get into it now. I will say, I do apologize if you can hear some noises. There's a bit of a heat wave going on right now, so windows are open. I would usually close all the windows so it's as isolated as possible, but it's just boiling at the moment and I really can't. Right. So at 14th place, my least favourite Bond book is The Spy Who Loved Me. Not this low because I dislike it or because it's a bad book. It's just because it's, I'm pretty sure, unless I'm misremembering, it's the only of the 12 Bond novels that doesn't have Bond as the central character. So it's just a very different experience. If you want a change of pace, it's definitely a good read. But for me, overall, I found it to be the weakest in the series, just because it wasn't what I wanted. Once Bond is in the story, it's very good. You just have a whole, is it the first part or the first two parts? Part 1, me, part 2, them, part 3, him. So there's 2 out of 3 parts where Bond isn't even in the story. So very good once he gets there, still good when he's not there, but it's, if that's what you want, if you want to have something which is a bit different within the Bond, world, you'll enjoy it. And like I say, it's not a bad book. I believe I gave this a 7.5, so still a very good, very good book, just the others are better. Number 13, Diamonds Are Forever. So the main reason why this one is as low down as it is because of the really large horse racing section. I don't remember when the horse racing section starts, but I do remember it was just too much. I'm not the biggest fan of horse racing, so it didn't captivate me at all, really, which is a shame. But other than that, it's a good book. I think all the Bond stories are really good in various different ways. Also, the villain in this one didn't really jump out as well as what many of the other ones do. It's like a gangster. There's a shootout in a sort of western, but like a pantomime town sort of thing. It's a western town, but it's it's performative. It's not a real town, and the guy just likes that sort of thing. So it has some fun bits in it, but my god, that horse racing section was difficult for me to get through. So yeah, number 13, Diamonds Are Forever. Number 12, we have Moonraker. Again, I'm not going to say for any more now, it's a good book, because again, I do think all these books are good to varying levels. Obviously, I think this one is better than the previous two, but I'll just try to say, things specific to the book. I like that this one was the first one set in the UK. It's only book 3, but first one I believe is France, and the second one is kind of all over the place, but it's more Mediterranean and America, because it goes to Captain Morgan's cave, but that's a time for a different entry. I do like the whole villains to this. In theory, they're just not super engaging. I like the fact that they were Nazis who were pretending to not be Nazis, working for the guy whose name I can't remember. I should have flicked through these to remind myself of the villains' names and stuff. Drac, where is he? Is it Drac in this one? Something Drac? Oh yeah, Drax Gambit. So yeah, it's Drax. So it is a guy, I think it is. We also do get a nice gambling scene, and I always find the gambling and like the drinking and smoking in Bond to be some of the best scenes that Ian Fleming does. They are very like vivid, and you probably get you in the scene. And as someone who does neither of those things, or like I don't really drink, I don't smoke, and I don't gamble, so it's a really, I don't know, it's like a way of living through things that I don't do, and it's done very well in this. But like I say, the main problem I had with this one is just it didn't leave as much of an impression on me. If I reread it, I think it would get a higher score, because you know the bits that are in here I liked, they just really didn't leave too big of an impression. So sadly, it stays down at number 12. Number 11, we have For Your Eyes Only, the first of two short story compilations for Ian Fleming. For this one, I'll go over the 4. Is it 4 or 5? 5. We have From a View to a Kill, For Your Eyes Only, Quantum of Solace, Risico, and the Hildebrand Rarity. Quantum of Solace I really liked. Way better than the movie. The movie's crap. Not sure that's going to be a controversial... I don't think it will be. I don't think many people are going to disagree with that. But this is actually... I think it's a governor, like the governor of some part of Jamaica, I believe, is talking to Bond, telling him about this British soldier who fell in love with a flight attendant, and then they got together, moved here, and then she just like took advantage of him, sleeping around, or at least cheating with one guy anyway. And then when he found out, he got his revenge by just cutting her off completely, basically split the house in half, and then just left. Told her, oh yeah, look, you know, you can have the car, sell the car, get a bit of money, you can have this radio, I think it was, sell it, get a bit of money, and then just be gone from my life forever. And he gets his like, you know, his last laugh, because these things are actually on lease and he owed money on them, so he didn't help her at all. He actually like screwed her over a bit more. So it's like a wild story, and like The Spy Who Loved Me, it's a massive change of pace for Bond, but in this one I really enjoyed it and it really gripped me. You got From a View to a Kill and For Your Eyes Only, which are adapted into For Your Eyes Only, the movie. And then I believe Risico and the Hildebrand Rarity are both not adapted at all. Risico I believe is it in France, where there's like a hidden base, or Italy? There's like a hidden base on a motorway, and they kill like patrolmen, basically, is what I believe that one is. And the Hildebrand Rarity, I think was that one with the stingray, or was that just no? A guy is like abusive and he's a dick, and his wife rams a fish with spines in his mouth when he's sleeping, and they wake up and he's dead. But they don't tell you who actually did it. But the woman makes the most sense. But there are other people that he was mean to that could have also done it. So it's a nice little mystery story there. Again, really enjoyable, just there are better stories. So yeah, so that's number 11. Number 10, we have Octopussy and the Living Daylights, the other short story compilation for Ian Fleming. Like I say, this one I just think is a little bit better. You got Octopussy, The Property of a Lady, The Living Daylights, and 007 in New York. 007 in New York is not adapted anywhere. The Property of a Lady is which one's that now? That's one of Roger Moore's. It's when they have the Fabergé egg. It's not going to come to me off the top of my head for some reason. It might actually be Octopussy. Is it Octopussy and Property of a Lady are together in this one, and then The Living Daylights is obviously The Living Daylights with Timothy Dalton. Octopussy in this one is very much nothing like the actual movie adaptation, because Octopussy is about a man who killed someone, I can't remember who he was, during like the Second World War to get Nazi gold, and then years later Bond comes to him because this was his friend, and he basically says, you know, the jig is up, the ice has melted, the corpse has been exposed, we know what you did, either confess or don't, but we know what happened because other people have told us, and we will come back for you. And then this guy goes into the water one last time to play with you know, not really play, but to experiment and to experience, I guess, the wildlife. And he is killed when is it a scorpion fish? I think a scorpion fish stings him, and then Octopussy kills him. Like, he's dying from the scorpion fish anyway. Major Smythe, there we are, so that's the guy. But yeah, good stories. I like to say, really enjoyed it. Enjoyed them a bit more than For Your Eyes Only. And yeah, give it a read. Fun stuff. Next, we have possibly, I'd like to say, I've never looked into how other people rate the Bond books. I just know this one gets a bit of negativity from what I understand. The Man with the Golden Gun. Probably higher up than it should be by most accounts. But basically, when I read this one, I gave this book a lot more leeway than I would other Bond books, because Ian Fleming, or Sir Ian Fleming, was dying basically at this point, and he died before getting the opportunity to, you know, to do the final edits for The Man with the Golden Gun. So I was a lot more lenient on you know, what happens in the book, or if something felt a bit off, or felt it was not refined properly, or, you know, was a bit confusing, I was a lot, like I say, I was more lenient just due to the circumstances. It's very apparent why they are like that. Like, this book has sort of dream sequences, which is different for the Bond books. Bond doesn't just suddenly start daydreaming or having like vivid dreams and stuff throughout the franchise. But in some of them, it just suddenly starts. You don't even realise he's asleep, and it's just like some weird, trippy experience is happening, and it's really confusing. And then you find out that he wakes up, or that he like comes back to his senses, and the dream passes. So things like that, I think, would have been a lot more, like, they would have made more sense, and they wouldn't have been so abrupt had he the opportunity to do, you know, a second or a final draft, you know. But like I say, it is what it is, and I don't hold it against him, because I don't think it's really fair to hold dying against him. Also, Scaramanga is a great villain, and if anyone's wondering, when I read the Bond books, I read Bond as Sean Connery in my head 99% of the time. And same with the villains. If the villain left an impression and I can vividly remember their voice, that's what they sound like in the book. So Scaramanga was Christopher Lee, and it was a great encounter having Christopher Lee and Sean Connery as Bond and Scaramanga. So, like I say, I enjoyed it. I wish it was, you know, afforded the opportunity to have its final draft, and I think, or a second draft, and I think it would have been at least like 3 or 4 spots higher on the list for me if Sir Ian Fleming was able to, you know, give it the polish he usually would. But it was not meant to be, sadly. But yeah, The Man with the Golden Gun. What are we now? 14, 13, 12, 11, 10. So 9th place. Number 8, we have Thunderball. And I'll say now, with Thunderball, this book is basically riding high on its ranking that I gave for it, because it's not one that I remember tremendously well. I remember Largo is the villain. I remember that Bond and Leiter have a reunion in this book. There's a section where Bond pretends to be like a rich British man who's come to buy some sort of holiday property, and he goes on Largo's vessel, the Disco Volante. Disco Volante? I think that's what it's got. Never clear. Yeah, Disco Volante. Remember that one. And that's when they start formulating the whole, or, you know, there's something dodgy about this ship and what have you, and then, you know, things progress as they do. Is there like a fold in this? There's like a black line. There's a mark. How did you get there? Very odd. You still get the scene as well with Largo and Blofeld, which I liked. Difference in this one is Largo is actually number 1 when he's the head of the operation, not number 2, where in the movies they make it so Blofeld is the definitive number 1 top guy regardless of what's happening, whereas in the book he actually, allows others to take the number 1 ranking, I guess, when they are head in an operation. But yeah, like I say, I know it has the underwater scenes as well, like in the movie, which I was not a big fan of in the movie. For some reason, underwater just doesn't gel with me. But yeah, Thunderball, the number 8 Bond book, like I say, it's mainly there because of that's how I ranked it, because it didn't leave the biggest impression to me in the long run. Probably do a reread, to be fair. Number 7, this one might also be a slightly controversial pick because of how high up it is. You Only Live Twice. And I will say, You Only Live Twice has the single worst chapter in all of Bond. Can I find what the chapter's called? Actually, no, I can find it by looking at it, I think, because it'll stand out straight away. So basically, there's a part in the book where Bond has gone to M's home, and he's talking to M and a few people from like British intelligence or something, and they give him a list of all the plants and all of like the poisonous fauna and flora on the castle estate that Blofeld has. Oh, is that over there? Is that some of it? And basically it's an entire chapter, more or less. Oh yeah, here you go. I'm not sure if you can see that. But it's like an entire chapter of just Wikipedia entry where you got like, where's an example here? Jamaica dogwood, fish poison tree, and then it tells you it's a tree, it's 30 foot, white and blood coloured leaves, and tells you like how toxic it is, tells you where you find it. Then you got the next thing, the Nux vomica tree, poison nut, crow fig, and it just goes over it. It tells you, it's monotonous. It's not engaging. You're just reading a load of technical words as well, which if I don't know how to pronounce a word, I don't just skip past it. It kind of annoys me because I want the word to be pronounced correctly, which is also why one difficulty I had with certain Bond books is Ian Fleming loves to use foreign languages, especially French. Comes up quite a bit in these books. And I can't read French, so I don't know if I'm saying the words correctly, and it bugs me. But yeah, so other than that one chapter, which was really bad, I did not enjoy going through that chapter at all. Other than that, I did enjoy You Only Live Twice. A load of it is very similar to the book. Bond does go to like a ninja camp sort of thing. Bond does go to a fishing village and sort of, fall in love with a woman. Is it? I can't remember. It's not Kissy, is it? Is it Kissy? Oh yeah, Kissy Suzuki. So like he does fall in love, but then the difference is with this one, Bond actually gets amnesia by the end of the book because he gets punched in the head repeatedly. And then when he's making his escape after killing Blofeld, he gets shot in the head. The bullet only grazes him, but it's enough after all the trauma he's gone through up until this point, like say being punched in the head repeatedly. I think he's, is he hit with a grenade? Or no, grenades are thrown and like blown up near him, I believe, at one point. So his head is just fried. And then the book ends with him finding a piece of paper that is in Russian, or like a newspaper clipping that's in Russian, and it triggers something like, oh, this is familiar to me. What is this? Actually, but yeah, that's why The Man with the Golden Gun is also so high, because the book starts off with Bond has been compromised, his mind has been brainwashed because he goes to Russia and he tries to kill M, and it's a really, really good scene, but then it just skips ahead. You don't, like, they say, oh yeah, Bond's punishment will be he gets a really hard job, which is to kill Scaramanga, and we're going to forcibly reprogram his brain and get the brainwashing cleared. But they skip over all of that. You don't get to see him go to like the hospital where they fix him, and you don't get to see any of the repercussions of him trying to kill M. So it's a really, really strong start, one of the best starts in the franchise, but then it just skips ahead way too far, sadly. But yeah, the scene with Bond fighting and killing Blofeld is really cool. Blofeld having like a samurai katana and armor, patrolling around his like castle with his like garden of death was really cool as well. I enjoyed that. It's not as cool probably as the volcano base that he has in the movie, but I really liked the sort of the feudal castle, or the manor house, whatever it was. I can't remember if it was a castle or just a really fancy Japanese mansion of like sort of the feudal time. But you know, there's Blofeld there with his samurai helmet. Yeah, like I say, it has a bit of silliness as well, where, you know, saying sumos can suck their balls into their abdomen, and then they put a wrap around the lower half so you can't hurt them by hitting them in the crotch. So, you know, there's some silly things, but it has a load of Japanese, or potential Japanese culture, but it was still enjoyable for me to read it because I enjoy that sort of stuff quite a lot. So it very much appealed to me specifically, which helped me overlook a couple of the negatives and helped the book climb higher up my rankings. So yeah, number 7 I think it was. So here, 6, 5, 4, 3. Sorry, there's just a pile on the floor. So yeah, so that was number 7. Let's move the pile as from in front of me. I still have to lean over. But right, number 6. On Her Majesty's Secret Service. One of the Bond books which is actually adapted really faithfully as a movie, but I just preferred this version. And not just because Bond is Sean Connery when I read this, but it just, like, the certain aspects of the story I think were just done that little bit better here. When Bond is like trying to get information from the women in Blofeld's sort of resort, he's not sleeping around with like 5 different women and getting caught because he's just being a bit of a horn dog. He's actually, I'm not sure if he does sleep with other women, but I know at minimum he sleeps with one woman and builds up like a really strong relationship with her, and then she starts revealing things to him, so it makes a lot more sense. Bond is also caught really because another spy is caught, and in his dazed state he accidentally reveals that he knows Bond, and as a result of that, Blofeld then is instantly onto him, and you know, like, that's when the big climax starts. So it's not Bond just being a fool, it's, you know, his cover gets blown by someone else accidentally breaking it for him or blowing it for him. The escape down the mountain I also thought was really cool, and I think done a little bit better in this, where you got Bond shooting down on like some sort of a bobsled or a one-man. I'm not sure what it was anymore, but it's, you know, it's like sort of like, you know, like was it a bobsled, a one-man bobsled. Got helicopters chasing him, throwing grenades at him, and you know, it's a wild old ride. A guy flies into like a sort of a wood chipper or something, and his blood flings everywhere, and it kind of disgusts Bond. I think he vomits straight away. He does get rescued by, is it Ursula? Is it Ursula? Or is it Tracy? Tracy something? No, Ursula's from something else, isn't it? Because it's Mark-Ange or something. A lot of the names I'm forgetting because there's too many names and I read too many things. But yeah, like, same as the movie, Bond does get married. Different, I think, to the movie. No, actually no, it's the same as the movie. MI6 and the Secret Service don't help Bond trying to blow Blofeld's cover by here. It's actually like gangsters and the mafia and stuff. It's Mark-Ange, because he knows that, you know, politically the British Secret Service can't get involved, so he asks him to help. He does help. He then marries his daughter, and then you get the drive-by scene where Blofeld and the woman whose name is not coming to me kill her. and then you get the the heartbreaking we have all the time in the world, where again in the book it makes a lot more sense. Bond is semi-unconscious. He's not really processing what's happening. In the movie, he's in denial that she's dead, which is still an impactful scene. But I felt in the movie, the fact that Bond was semi out of it because he was, in a car crash and nearly died, or well, maybe not nearly died, but he could have died. It made a lot more sense that he didn't recognise that she was dead. But, the power of being in denial is just as believable, I suppose. Yeah, it is Tracy. Bond turned towards Tracy. She was lying forward with her face buried in the ruins of the steering wheel. Her pink handkerchief had come off, and the bell of golden hair hung down and hid her face. "It's all right," he said in a clear voice, as if explaining something to a child. "It's quite all right. She's having a rest. We'll be going on soon. There's no hurry, you see. You see, we've got all the time in the world." Like I say, obviously he's talking to a police officer there, but it feels a lot more believable. Like Bond is just, he's out of it. Obviously there's still a bit of denial, of course, but like I say, I feel it's just a better, stronger version of the story than what you get in the movie. Number 6, On Her Majesty's Secret Service. Number 5, Dr. No. Just like the previous one, is a really well adapted book. Like the movie version adapts this story really well. Very faithful to the actual source material, with only a couple of things that's changed, really. The main ones are Pussfella, or Pussyfella. Is it? No, it's Pussfella. Is the like the Jamaican bartender in the movie, whereas it's actually a giant octopus or a giant squid in this. When Bond gets put through that little obstacle course, I guess, after being captured by Dr. No, in the movie he breaks through the venting, or gets into the ventilation, gets nearly blown up where the electrocutes him, climbs through, he climbs down and then falls, gets really warm, and then he manages to get outside, I believe. Oh no, he gets hit with a load of water, then he gets out. But in the book, it's much more arduous. He does get electrocuted when he tries pulling the cover off the vent. He then wraps that up and turns it into a little spear. When he gets in there, then he has to climb up the long tube, not down. And there's a corpse or a skeleton in there with him, where the guy climbed up but fell and broke his ankles, and then he was just stuck there and died. When he's in the tunnel, there's a big area where there's a lot of spiders and a big spider web, and Bond kills them, I think, with a lighter, an aerosol or something, just sets them all on fire. So they're just omitted completely. The spider is put in the scene where he's in the hotel. That's a centipede in this. What else is different? The actual vent system itself does get super hot. It goes super hot and super cold, designed to just wear Bond down physically and emotionally. And when he gets out of the ventilation system, he comes into water, I believe, and that's where he finds Pussfella. So that's drastically different. The killing of Dr. No is very different as well. In the movie, Bond just gets him stuck in the water, and then with his hands he can't climb back out, so he just drowns. Whereas in this, Bond, I can't remember if it's bird shit or something adjacent to bird shit, but basically Bond buries him in bird shit. There's imagine a wood chipper. You put it in and it flies out at the other end. He just turns something to face him and it flies out at him. He's on the phone facing the other way, so that's how he doesn't realise that Bond is doing this, because at this point he thinks Bond has been taken care of. Other than that, a load of it is kind of the same. What's her name now? I've forgotten that. The Bond girl. I got Pussy Galore in my head now. It's not Pussy Galore. It's Ryder, Honey Ryder. So it's Honey Chili rider in this. The only real difference with her is she's a lot more forceful. She wants Bond in this book, and by the end of the story she gets Bond. Called like slave time. I can't remember how they explain what slave time is, but she invokes slave time and then Bond has to stop rejecting her basically. But otherwise really well done in terms of the adaptation. If you watch the movie you kind of get like 80-85% of this book, but I would highly recommend reading it. Fantastic read, absolutely amazing. Another controversial one, because this is probably lower than what most people would have. 4th place, Casino Royale. I think the main reason why it's in 4th place, honestly, is because it's the first Bond book and I had nothing to compare it against. So giving it a fair rating felt very difficult. It's the Bond book that I want to reread the most due to that fact. I think when I do reread it, it'll probably potentially go up at least one spot. I don't think it'll become 1st place. I think at most it will get stuck at 2nd, but it could very well go up to 3rd. Could very well stay at 4th. For the most part, as I say, I'll be saying that a lot by this point. It kind of is a very accurate and very true to the story. The only things that are really different is Vesper's death at the end. She commits suicide in the book because she feels heartbroken for what she did, because she was like a double agent and she betrayed Bond and fell in love with him then. So she felt like disgusted with herself and just devastated that she did that to him. When Bond is being tortured by Le Chiffre, he doesn't laugh and joke about Le Chiffre scratching his balls. The man is mortified, he is devastated, and he is absolutely convinced that he is now essentially a eunuch and he's no longer going to be functioning, and he is terrified of that. Like, he takes the situation very, very seriously. Also, when Bond loses due to Vesper telling Le Chiffre that he's figured out his tell, the MI6 agent, the female agent, isn't like, "Yeah, you blew it, I'm not giving you money anymore, you're standing down." That doesn't happen. Felix Leiter just offers to help him straight away, basically. Or he comes over like, "Oh yeah, you know, I want to help you. I'm not doing too good in this. You are. Take my money and let's get this guy." I'd also like to point out that Felix Leiter is a white Texan man with blonde straw hair. Very, very specifically stated in the books, just so we're all on the same page. But yeah, number 4, Casino Royale. Number 3, fucking hell, sorry. Number 3, Live and Let Die. Really good book. I really enjoyed this one. I thought it was a step up from Casino Royale when I first read it. The villain I thought was really interesting. I really like Mr. Big. His death at the end of the story is wild, and I think it's so cool. Basically, he tries to kill Bond and Domino by tying them up, attaching the rope to his ship or vessel. I can't remember if it's a big ship or just like a pleasure boat, and sails away. But unbeknownst to him, Bond had already planted a bomb on there, and Bond was just keeping his fingers crossed that the bomb detonates before him and Domino are too far along and are brought into the reef, and then they'll be like cut up to shreds by the reef, and then the barracuda and the shark in the water and anything else in there will basically just eat them alive. Thankfully for them, the bomb does go off in time, and somehow Mr. Big survives the explosion, and he's swimming towards Bond and Domino like a man possessed, half dead, bleeding out more or less because of the explosion, but he is getting his revenge whether they like it or not. But then what he planned for them happens to him. The shark, the barracuda, all the other aquatic animals that are attracted to blood take him out, and it's a wild old scene because I'm sure he's described as basically like a shark himself, where the pupils have disappeared. He just has like the whites of his eyes, and he is coming at them with like a red hot fury or a white hot fury, or whatever that expression is. But yeah, it's a wild scene. And I think it's way better than him getting shot with a dart with air and then he inflates like a balloon and pops. way more dramatic death, way more fitting the imposing character that he was in the book. A few things that are different as well is Teehee breaks Bond's finger. Oh no, it's not Domino, it's Solitaire in this one, isn't it? It's Solitaire. Domino is somewhere else. This one is, I'm pretty sure this is Solitaire. Does it say? Sometimes they have the Bond girl as the name of a chapter. Doesn't say. Doesn't matter. But I'm pretty sure it's actually Solitaire. I think I got the name wrong. Yeah, Bond gets captured when he's in the club, as he does in the movie. But in this version, he also gets like his finger broken by Teehee, who Bond then gets revenge on by throwing him down a set of stairs, and he breaks his neck when he falls. I'm pretty sure in the movie, Teehee is the guy with the hook, who Bond then sort of pays homage to from Russia with Love, with the train and the train car fight. So yeah, in the book he dies way faster. The other characters are in here as well. Whisper is a character in here. I don't remember how he dies, or if he does die actually, but really good book. I feel like, again, it's just a slightly stronger version of the story. Very well done in the movie, but this one I think is just a little bit better. Yeah, my third favourite of the Bond books, Live and Let Die. Alright, now number 2 and number 1 I am going to show together, because so the original ranking is number 2, Goldfinger, number 1, From Russia with Love. But since since I've read this book, and the more I think about it in my own time, I think From Russia with Love is actually my number 2 and Goldfinger is my number 1. And the reasoning for that is there are scenes in From Russia with Love that when I read them for the first time I absolutely loved. Like the first section of the book, first 100 pages, is all about Smersh and like the Russians and them setting up the plan of how they're going to try to destabilize the West, and like they settle on they want to kill a super impactful and important agent, but one that is unknown to the British public, or unknown to the public, so it is, I guess it's a more of a devastating blow specific to the Secret Services and everything. They didn't want to make it like a an international incident, I guess. And it was really interesting reading it. But the more I think about it, having to reread close to like 115 pages of just setting up the job, it just doesn't sound as appealing to me. But other than that, I also think that this is the only Bond book which is adapted as well as it is, where the movie I think is slightly better. And the only reason for that is the pacing. Every scene that you see in the movie that is in the book, like say the gypsy camp, or the train ride, the train journey, the whole thing, the movie doesn't do it as well as the book, but the books are in many cases way more dragged out and way more fleshed out, I should say, that you get a lot more out of them individually, but the pacing of the movie I find the pacing it's a bigger positive than the extra more fleshed out version that this gives you. So, but bearing in mind, I would say it's fractionally better. This is this has a 9.5. So the two of these have 9.5s, which is why I think now they've switched around. But and then I would say the movie is like a 10. So it's not really a great deal different. Just that pacing cannot be beaten. And other than that, there's not really much to mention, because I'm pretty sure everything else in this book is practically 1-to-1, or close enough to 1-to-1. I can't even think of any scenes that they omitted. So yeah, originally number 1, but for now, I think I'm going to drop it down to number 2 from Russia with Love. And then again, my number 1, my favourite Bond book, Goldfinger, which is also my favourite Bond movie. And the reason why is just because this book was an absolute pleasure for me to read. I think Goldfinger is a fantastic villain. I think Oddjob is a fantastic henchman. I love the story. I like how the gangsters are a bit more involved in this version of the story. I also like how Pussy Galore isn't just Goldfinger's pilot. She's actually the head of a like a lesbian gang, basically. She was raped when she was younger, so she just had an instant hatred towards men. Except for Bond caught her eye, and then eventually they do sleep together, like in the movie. But in the book, she was a lesbian by choice. She hated men because of what they did to her, but then she finds a man who slowly interests her more and more, and that hatred, or that all-encompassing hatred, is slowly chipped away. Which might be a very cliche or not realistic, but it's not supposed to be realistic. I absolutely loved the golf in this, and again, I don't play golf. I have no real interest in golf, but it's like the drinking and the gambling and the smoking. The way how Ian Fleming does it, he makes it so something that does not interest me as an individual captivated me as a reader. Even though for the golf section you get all 18 holes for both players, every stroke that they do, it is written down in detail and you read everything, and I just flew through it. I absolutely loved it, and I know a lot of people are, like I say, from the very limited things that I've seen people complaining about the golf scene. I'm not sure if it's a widespread complaint or just I managed to stumble upon a niche, but for me, I absolutely loved it. Oddjob as well is a little bit different in the book, but not tremendously. So he's not mute, he just has a cleft tongue, so people can't understand him when he talks. He also has some skin condition where his skin is super hard, and then he does sort of kung fu or martial arts, breaking a mantelpiece, I think. No, not a mantelpiece. He destroys a whole fireplace, basically. Does a karate chop and a big kick and breaks them. Where his body is just super tough, basically, as a result of this skin condition. His death in the book is actually Goldfinger's death in the movie. He gets sucked out of the plane, and then Goldfinger just gets strangled to death by Bond on the plane. So in the book, they are both present on the plane together. He doesn't actually die at Fort Knox. Another difference is Goldfinger doesn't kill all the gangsters at his ranch after they brought him the bits he needs. He actually kills them after the Fort Knox job sort of starts going tits up, and they all run away together, and I believe he kills them, I think he shoots them on a train car, they escape on a train and he shoots them all to death, I believe. Other than that, oh yeah, Bond also gets basically captured and forced to work for Goldfinger, which is different from the movie. And also, so I can't remember which is which. So is it Jill and Tilly, the two Masterson sisters? I can't remember who is who. The one who gets painted gold is basically the same, more or less, as the book. The only difference is how her interaction with Bond actually plays out. She does sort of betray Goldfinger by helping Bond screw over his cheating. And then she leaves with Bond on a train, but says, I need to go back because he pays me too much money to leave him, so I'm going to go back to him, get my money, and then I'll leave eventually. But then he paints her gold and she dies. The biggest difference with the sister is she isn't instantly killed by Oddjob. She is killed by Oddjob, but during the Fort Knox sequence, because she stays around because she's a lesbian. She is, I'm not sure if she's hooking up with Pussy Galore or if she wants to, but she's killed by Oddjob during the Fort Knox sequence. But other than that, I think everything else is basically the same. But like I say, absolutely fantastic story. I love the book, love the movie. The more I think about it, I'm very convinced this is my favourite of all of the Ian Fleming Bond novels, and I would highly recommend it. At some point, I might reread all of the Bond books. I doubt I'd do them in order like I did this time. I went through 1 through 14 back to back. I'd probably reread them, maybe give them a new score to see if they change, and then maybe I would make a second ranking of the Bond books after a second read. But as it stands, this is my, I guess, my official ranking of the Bond novels after one read of each of the books, and then about 4 or 5 months after reading the last one to think about it and let them sit in my mind. And like I say, the only ones whose positions I felt I wanted to change was From Russia with Love and Goldfinger. And I feel very happy with my new placement with Goldfinger ranking supreme. It could be a bias due to me liking the movie, my movie being my favourite as well, to be fair. But as it stands, that's where I'm finishing off, and yeah. Let me know what your rankings would be for the Bond novels in the comments, and also let me know what you think of my ranking and how much you disagree with it. But yeah, thank you so much. Take care.